Hi, this is Tom from Math. If you're working with expressions or equations, at some point you're going to have to work with something called the distributive property. In this video, we'll explain what it is, how you can do it, and give you a few examples to help you out. So all that's coming up next on the Land of Math. In this video, we're looking at the distributive property. Now, when we're talking about distribute, it's another way of saying to share or to pass out. And so in this problem, what we're looking at sharing is this number 2. Now, another way we could think of this is that we have two groups of 3y plus 2. So we have 3y plus 2 on the left. We also have a 3y plus 2 on the right-hand side. Now, if we combine those two groups together, we look at our y's, we see we have a total of 6 y's, and we could also combine our plus 2's, which would be a plus 4 or a positive 4. But what we'd like to do is to actually distribute or share this too. And we can do that by multiplying it by everything inside the parenthesis. So for example, 2 times 3y would be 6y. We then share the 2 with the 2. So 2 times 2 would be a positive 4 or plus 4. And you're going to notice we get the same answer this way. Either way, if we shared it or if we used our distributive property. So either way, we're going to end up with 6y plus 4. Now let's say we want to evaluate this expression. And let's say we decide to make y equals 5. So we would just substitute the 5 for the y. So on the left here we'd have 6 times 5, which would equal 30, plus 4. And that would give us 34. So here's our first example. Let's say we're using distributive property and we're going to distribute or share this positive 7. So I would take 7 times the negative 2y, and that would give me negative 14y. Then I would take 7 times this positive 3, and that would be positive 21 or just a plus 21. If I would like to evaluate it, what I can do is just plug in a negative 2 for y. So I'd make negative 14 times negative 2, and then we'd go ahead and add the 21. On the left side, negative 14 times negative 2 would be 28, plus 21, and that would give us a total of 49. So next we have like our second example here. So we have negative 3 is what we're going to distribute. And we're again share that with whatever's inside the parenthesis. Negative 3 times 5x would be a negative 15x. Negative 3 times a positive 2 would be a negative 6 or minus 6. And again, if we'd like to go ahead and evaluate this, we could pick a number for x, in this case 2, and we could just substitute it for x. So we'd have negative 15 times 2 minus 6. Negative 15 times 2 would be negative 30 minus 6, and that would give us a negative 36. Now, what we could do is if we were to plug in this negative 2 into the original problem at the top, we'd still plug in 2 for the x. So inside of our parentheses, the first thing we would do is take 5 times 2, which is 10, and that would be plus 2. Then we'd go ahead and solve the rest of what's in the parentheses, so 10 plus 2 would be 12. Then we would take negative 3 times positive 12 and get negative 36. You notice both ways we get the same answer. So let's look at our third example. Now this one gets a little trickier because now we're going to distribute two different ways. So on the left side here, we're going to take negative 5 times 2x, which is negative 10x. Then we have negative 5 times a positive 3, which would be a negative 15. On the right side, what we're distributing or sharing is the negative 2. We include that minus sign with the 2. So a negative 2 times a negative 3 would be a positive 6y. And then we're going to take negative 2 times a positive 7, which would be minus 14. So we've used our distributive property two different ways. But in this situation, we actually can combine the two numbers here that don't have a variable. So we're going to keep the negative 10x, because there's one of those, and we're going to keep our positive 6y. But we're going to combine a negative 15 and a negative 14, which would be a negative or minus 29. So if we wanted to evaluate this, let's say just for example, x was 2 and y was 10. We would go through and substitute the x. We put a 2 in there for the x. We would put a 10 in for the y. So when we go to solve this, negative 10 times 2 would be a negative 20. 6 times 10 is 60 minus 29. When we actually go ahead and combine these, negative 20 plus 60 is a positive 40 minus 29, and that would be a positive 11. All right, so that brings us to our next example here. Now this one you're going to notice there's a negative sign outside of the parenthesis here. So one thing you could always do is think of it this way. A negative means opposite. So everything in the parenthesis would be opposite. So positive 5x becomes negative 5x. Plus 2 becomes a minus 2. But what I like to kind of do is think of, with this negative sign, just put a 1 there, a negative 1. And you can distribute this. So we're distributing our negative 1. Negative 1 times 5 would be negative 5 or negative 5x. Negative 1 times 2, that would be a negative 2 or a minus 2. And you're going to notice it's going to be the same, whether it's the one on the left or the right. Both times we're getting the same answer. So hopefully that was helpful to you. If you would, we'd love a thumbs up, and we'd really like it if you would subscribe to the channel. Until next time, we'll see you on the land of math.